Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about testing and the importance of testing and some of the testing we do here at Four3.
Yeah, so I think that's testing is kind of the primary focus of, I guess, our company,
Yeah,
or at
definitely.
least the first and
Definitely.
foremost thing that we
Yeah.
want people to know that we do, because it's really what sets us apart from any other facility out there. We have stuff that most people dream they could have, and we have it kind of just at our fingertips to use, and it's, you know, bar none better than anything I've seen all in one place.
I think that it's a very overlooked part of for training and for endurance sports in general. I think people like numbers
Yep.
that are involved in the endurance world, and I think the more numbers they can get, the better. And I think the more numbers we can get, the better, because we can, you know, monitor change, make more changes, find areas where we can make improvement. The more data collection, the better. And I feel that while endurance sports have become more popular and more wearables have become more accessible and more affordable for everyone's heart rate monitors now. They're almost like giving them away like pedometers for a while, really. And even
No
like
matter
this,
watch, you get a
like
heart
this
rate
watch
monitor.
has, you know, heart rate monitor built in, and all of that data, which is great, I think. But also, there's so much other data that people don't know. First of all, don't know it exists.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how to use it.
And is not accessible to the general public.
And I think what's cool is not even like the equipment that's not accessible, it's just like the information you get where we can read it and really tailor everything you do to that scientific number that we got from those machines, because without that information, it's like you're just doing a regular old
Yeah,
training
like I liken it to, go online, go on WebMD, and diagnosing yourself with whatever you think is wrong. Like, it always ends up you're going to die. I mean, that seems to be like the end result.
Never a good thing.
You know, and then instead of consulting a specialist or some physician like that, I think it's the same kind of thing. A lot of no fault of their own. Some of these companies have found there's a market. Okay, everybody wants data. Let's just give them these heart rate monitors and everything. That's all great, but that data is not really being utilized by a specialist. And I like to think ourselves as specialists in data capturing and analysis and for endurance athletes and utilizing that to drive what we're doing. So instead of just going to a facility and it's personal training or a personalized treatment, training plan, whatever, all of our programs that we have with our athletes are driven by data. We're constantly monitoring and then constantly reevaluating to say, okay, progress is made here, not here. Look, this is another avenue. And I think because of that, you can make much more effective gains and much more efficient use of your time with athletes instead of, it's almost like shooting in the dark. Okay, we'll do some general strength training, whatever. Okay, well, maybe they don't really need that, and you're trying to get another 2% gain of what the maximum they're going to be able to get versus this whole other area that you don't know exists that you can attack, whether it be hydration, cognitive, whatever it is.
Right.
I think one of the things that, like, in developing this, we stole something from the business world where it's like, if you can track it, you can change it. And I think that's what we look at every day and what we're thinking every time. Like, if I can see something and I can see an objective measure of it, I can think of 3, 4, 5 ways to try to address that. And like, if I'm not seeing the change with the first way that I use, then maybe it's the other thing. And with a combination of a ton of information, you're able to find that focal point much more quickly than if you're just using one parameter. So it's kind of like we get as much as we can on the initial onset. We figure out what works for somebody, and then you're always able to tailor it.
Yeah, what gets measured gets managed. That's what, kind of what you were alluding to in the business world. Then it comes down to picking the individual testing for what's going to be most important for this individual, whether they're tactical, motorsport, or a triathlete.
Right.
Something like VO2 might not be as important for a tactical operator as it would be for somebody who's going to run a marathon or do an Ironman. And even there with something like VO2, it's it was for a long time it was the gold standard for performance and endurance sports, but it's what can you do with that VO2? What's your max power output at that VO2? Somebody with a 60 versus a 50, the one with a 50 milliliter per kg per minute might actually outperform the 60. There's a lot of other variables involved, which is kind of plays into the other testing we do here, the cognitive and some of the power output testing and things like that.
You're seeing even like a lot of falling out with the VO2 max in literature and stuff because they're saying, well, it's not accurate enough, it's not specific enough, it's not able to be trained enough, but it's still a useful number when you combine it with other testing, and that's what I think. Like using the VO2 max with something like the Moxie, which looks at the muscle oxygen, and being able to correlate like specifics. All right, when I'm at this point with my VO2 max test, this is what's happening in a specific muscle group, and I think it's being able to utilize different pieces of information that feed off of each other within your body that makes this special. It's what allows you to get to that next level, because it's telling you like, where are my limitations? Is it coming from my cardiovascular system? Is it coming from more of a localized approach within the muscle? So it's just knowing it's not that one thing is not necessarily great, and it's not that one thing is always the gold standard. It's being able to put the pieces together and figure out where everything fits.
I think that's a really good point. VO2 became like this thing, big kind of, that was it. You do this VO2 max, and that's defines you as an athlete.
Right. You're either going to be great or you're not great, and that's where it is.
And I think, like we said, now we can associate that with some other devices we have. The technology has grown so much in the last 5 years. I mean, every time we seem to find a new product, there's always something kind of better version of it that we're, okay, now we need to get this because this other stuff's outdated, and it's great. It's just helping you get closer and closer, like pinpoint to what you're trying to get at. So I think combining them all into a curve, and you can start making, really collecting our own data, start making inferences on, okay, look, this is dropping off here, this is continuing here, let's work here. And also monitoring just training programs in general. When you make a change in whatever activity you're doing, it's going to change your VO2 max, it's going to change other things. So being able to, for athletes to track changes that they've made, just like in business, like you were saying, if you put a new marketing plan in or a new strategy, you have to have a way to monitor that change to see if it's been effective or not. Otherwise, you're just like, I feel like I'm doing better, my times are maybe a little better, but
you're just kind of shooting from
what
the
do you
hip.
really do?
Metabolically, what is going on? Are you making physiological changes to your body that are helping you perform better? So I really think initial testing as like a baseline before you start implementing any sort of change to what you're doing, I think you have to do it. Otherwise, how are you figuring out if there's any differences? And then also, for monitoring yourself throughout your season, so you can, like we talked about before, with recovery, see, okay, I'm in my back at where I'm supposed to be after a rate, that sort of thing, to always have an idea of what's going on inside your body. From an outside perspective.
I think it also gives us the opportunity to look at things outside of maybe the training aspect or outside of even our realm of expertise or our realm of care. If we're doing some testing and we're doing everything right in terms of conditioning and we're hitting marks with heart rate and you're doing everything right and you're still not seeing gains, well, maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it's something that you need to have blood work taken for and have that analyzed. Maybe, if you're not improving in terms of your VO2 max, or you're just still not able to get over a certain point in terms of cardiovascular function, maybe something biomechanical or, structural going on with anatomy. Somebody could remember like, oh, I fell off my bike like 3 years ago, I fractured my ribs. Maybe they're just not getting good rib expansion, so they're not able to get as much oxygen into their system. So it's just a matter of like, all right, when you do everything right and you still don't see results, where else can you go with it? And that's what it also allows you to do.
Well, I think a lot of people, including myself when I did it, was just shocked at the RMR, the amount of calories that you burn just being you and, not moving its liver function, lungs, heart, all that stuff. And, for me personally, I was eating, 1,300 calories a day, and I should be eating
1,900 to 2,100.
Right, so that alone can affect your training and just your ability to do things.
Yeah, if you're not fueling yourself and you're not even meeting your basic calorie needs, how are you going to go above and beyond that and be able to train and then also recover from that training? Going back to the blood work thing, blood work is very similar to what we do in here with testing, but on the medical end, it allows you to establish a baseline and give you something to compare to, after you make changes to either your diet or, medication changes or anything like that.
Right.
Another thing I want to talk about, going back to like you're saying about this, like we're talking about the gold standard kind of idea. I think that is like a very important point, that there's no such thing as like the defining test for how you perform as an athlete. I think being able to test various systems and everything else and making this comprehensive picture, it's the same thing. Like I keep back to, like, you have back pain, you go to a doctor and they do an MRI and they say, okay, well, yeah, here it is, we're going to do surgery tomorrow. I mean, to hang your hat on like an exam, some imaging saying, okay, this is the problem, now let's go in and fix it, I think is very naive. And I think it's the same situation here. Like, if I need to get my VO2 max better, that's going to make me a better athlete overall. I think you're really doing yourself a disservice. There's so many other avenues that you might need to be testing that indirectly might improve your VO2 max without trying to train that specifically.
And there's a lot of other factors. Like, somebody could test beautifully. They could look like the best athlete on paper, but there's other factors that go into performance. It's motivation. It's your mindset with training. And
pain tolerance.
Yeah, and you have to get the whole scope of an athlete and the whole picture of what their life is like. And so, developing a relationship and having one-on-one time with people really allows you to see that whole schematic and knowing, okay, this is how I maybe have to drive training in another way, not necessarily in an intensity form or a volume form, but just a way of playing with things a little bit to better match what that athlete needs in order to
maybe more of a focus on recovery methods and mobility work, so they move a little more efficiently.
And that's an interesting point that I think we could make a whole other podcast about. Is if you're not sitting down with your athletes and spending time like talking to them and like getting a better idea of what's going on with them. I mean, it could be some family issues, other things going on, work is stressful, whatever, and you're testing them and, hey, you're not performing as well as you used to, or their times are worse. Like, there's so many other aspects that make a huge influence on their performance. And I think, everyone involved in this endurance sport world, if you're coaching, if you're, a doctor, whatever it might be, you can show you're taking that time with them to get that. If you're just in here and you're pumping them through some exercises and sending them on their way, I mean, you're leaving so much on the table.
Right.
It was just yesterday we had a motorsport athlete who was pushing to drive his VO2 higher and higher, but it's not what his limiting factor is in the car.
Yeah.
His limiting factor is, the 10 other variables that go in to a race at any given time. So, raising his VO2 would really just do more to kind of inflate their ego than actually get some, performance benefit.
Sometimes that's what testing tells you to do. It's just, you have to rein in your athletes sometimes. You can't, numbers are important, and that's the whole point of this podcast, but also sometimes numbers can be blinding, and too much information in the wrong hands can sometimes be detrimental. So you have to know how to use it and when to use it, and what to give at certain times.
And this population in general is so driven and wants improvement, and numbers are a great way to show improvement, but they're also, like you said, it's not showing the whole picture of what's going on here. And I think, like you said, just like back to the WebMD idea, a little bit of information
Yep.
in an untrained person is very dangerous.
Yep.
You start making those inferences, you start playing with your mind, you're thinking these doomsday scenarios where, coming to a facility, a setting where people are specialists in this data and can be like, this is what this whole picture is saying versus here's some test results, we're giving it to you and, on your way. I mean, that's also a scary thing to do. I think you need to have a specialist to break down the data for you and explain to you in normal word, this is what this is saying here.
Yeah.
I think
and that that makes me think of like fueling plans for athletes. You can go online and you can find something that says you're supposed to take in X number of calories during your bike during an Ironman, and that's what that's what you do, and that's that. Well, no, like what I have to take in and what you'd have to take in are two completely different numbers, and it's not going to work the same way. If you're taking in what I take in, like you're going to be completely undernourished by
I'll be taking a nap.
by mile 30, and I think like when you take testing, you look at stuff on InBody and able to assess skeletal muscle mass, and then you look at the RMR and you look at the hydration. You can fine tune something and get numbers. It might actually be cheaper for somebody. It'd be better on their digestive system. It takes a lot less effort when it's all for you. And just getting random information, like you were saying, it can be dangerous in a way in that you could be taking in too much, too little, and just not getting exactly what you need.
Yeah, you got to be wary of what you get online, especially from someone you've never met. I mean, it's hard to really get to know someone's body, and if you're not doing the testing yourself, if you're not analyzing that data yourself, because everybody, like you guys are saying, is different. Everybody needs different things.
A lot of these online coaching programs are, they're based off of norms and averages and formulas. And, without having that face-to-face or the raw data beforehand, like an RMR measurement or, something from the Moxie, you're kind of flying blind,
Norms and averages will get you so far.
You're hoping they're falling in that bell curve, but they might not be.
And then I'd say probably 90-something% of the population of athletes is not in that, that's maybe more of an untrained
Exactly.
And the human aspect is so important. Like you said, getting to know them, knowing what's going on in their lives, because that's going to affect the training. That's going to affect what their body's doing.
Right.
I mean, that's so big.
And again, that will tailor what you're doing. You might have, if someone's coming in for one of our programs and we have a whole month mapped out for them, and then we find out they have some personal things going on, that's going to impact, what our whole plan.
We did it yesterday.
Okay, hey,
look, you get a little injury, that affects the whole plan.
Exactly. And or some family issue going on and you're going to miss it, you can't come in a certain day or something like that. We need to adapt and still kind of get the best bang for the buck.
You need to be able to auto-regulate. Auto-regulate their programming.
You need to have that personal connection with them, like a real kind of thing. It can't be a fake thing. You have to be, having that kind of empathy with people and that comfort level for them to tell you very personal information.
They might not tell you, and you're going to learn it because you're seeing them. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to say, like, hey, you know what? You're a little off today. What's going on? And that might make them open up. But if you don't say that to them, you don't initiate that, they're not going to say anything, and you're just going to go on with your day, and that's not doing them the service that they're here to get.
Right.
So I don't know how we got to that from testing.
I have no idea.
But I think that's a good avenue.
Well, I think it just kind of proves that everything in training, it's not just one piece at any given time. It's all of it, and you're not going to see success without looking at all of it. So
no, and I think
apologize for the tangent.
I think that was important.
I think it was definitely important, and I think it just again goes back to that fact that there's so many intertwining pieces that if you're not consulting with a specialist that can piece out all of that together and make more of a comprehensive plan. You're really leaving a lot on the table. Like if you're sitting there thinking I've got it all covered and you haven't gone down these other avenues, if you're this dedicated to becoming the best athlete you can be, you're leaving so much on the table. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've had athletes come in here that are performing extremely well in what they're doing, and we'll do some testing with them and
change their hydration strategy.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I was able to push through that. It's
dramatic improvements with minimal, intervention, but just the right intervention. It's just again harkens back to kind of this idea like in the medical world, you don't want to throw a million different things at something. You do the most pointed thing in the most specific region to get the most effective kind of, instead of going for more huge kind of overall systemic thing. If you can pinpoint the issue and address it, you'll make dramatic improvements.
Right.
Yeah, the shotgun approach, I think, is one that's very popular
Shotgun and cookie cutter.
nowadays, especially with, in the supplement industry.
Yeah, and again, like we talked about that during supplements, like, a lot of people are just getting, oh, this is good for everybody kind of thing.
Yeah.
Finding things that are tailored specifically for you, not even your athlete population, but you as a person.
Right.
I mean, so much more effective, as we found, and
You'll see.
You'll see.
That's all.
It's coming.
That's probably the best way.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's been coming. All right.
But so testing experiences anyone's had, please comment below, contact us, let us know.
Stuff that you've used.
Yeah, say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about any of the stuff. You can check out our website. We have information on a lot of it.
Yeah.
YouTube, which you might be watching this on, there's all videos on different testing devices. And
email any of us, with a specific question on something.
Yeah.
Right.
You hear about a specific machine or a type of test out there, and you want to know if we have it, or you want to know more about it, shoot us an email, and we're happy to give you some details.
One more thing I want to touch on real quick is also the gait analysis, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think
It's a whole another podcast.
Yeah,
too,
I think we should, maybe we'll save that for another one. But again, that's something I think is very scary when put in the wrong hands, and people make major changes via gait analysis to someone's entire way of running. It can be extremely detrimental.
Yep.
Again, someone that's ignorant to what they're doing, and they're not a specialist in mobility or physical therapy or something like that. Biomechanics can be very dangerous. So maybe we'll save that for. We'll do a whole gait analysis, maybe discussion.
Talk about it a little bit.
I think that'd be great.
What's important, the parameters that are important.
Yeah,
talk about shoes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that would be
equipment.
great.
Testing equipment for that alone. There's so many. We'll see. It's ridiculous.
But
getting tired thinking about it.
thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget, like Bill said, go to our website, comment below, let us know about testing.
Yeah, if you have questions or you want more information, call us, email. We love testing.
You're gonna get the cell phone, emails,
Yep.
and website all at the bottom right now. And these guys, and they're just experts, and they really, it's amazing what I've seen them do and what I continue to see them do. And even with we had someone in here
Love
today.
toys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had a nice hour chat with all the information we got from them.
Yeah.
Next podcast is on food.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Something we
So
all
tune in.
love.
Yeah, our first off-site.
First guest.
First guest, first
right?
off-site.
Yeah, new microphones.
New microphones.
That's it.
Hopefully.
Taking the podcast
Hopefully.
world by storm.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Please subscribe if you have not.
Yeah.
Stay up on the latest. Don't miss anything.
Keep watching. Keep listening.
Yeah.
Instagram.
It's gonna get better
Facebook,
and better and better.
Twitter. Don't forget. Those are all avenues that we're posting on.
All of the avenues.
All of the avenues.
Follow.
Bring out the love.